What's going on? It's Matthew J. Moore here. I want to welcome all you Bitcoin lovers, newbies, and experts. Yes, that's right. I might sound like I'm a little under the weather, but I am here to give a video update about some awesome developments taking place in the state of Oklahoma. If you've been watching just the recent developments along state governments in the United States and the positive things that are taking place when it comes to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency legislation, it's actually quite encouraging. And in fact, some of those people who are on the forefront, like Satoshi Action Fund, Dennis Porter and the gang over there, along with Eric, I'm really excited because not only have they gotten some great bills passed in other states like Montana and Arkansas, but they're here in Oklahoma this session. We've got a legislative session coming up here in February 5th, I believe, is when we start session, regular session. And the thing that I'm encouraged about is not only is Dennis and his team working hard, but they're taking some of the same legislation that has passed in other states and they're running it here in Oklahoma. And if you're unaware, I too am also involved in the state politics or the state political process. I'm a vice chair of the finance committee here for the state GOP, and I love being involved. In fact, in 2019, I helped author some of the first legislation around Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Much of it was modeled after what Wyoming was doing back in that day, but we were a little early. I was helping my good friend, State Senator Nathan Dahm. He is also now the chairman of the Republican Party here in Oklahoma. But I've had the privilege this time to not only work with Dennis and his team and help them get their bills going and through this political process here in Oklahoma, but also helping other legislators, both in the House and the Senate, come up with some bills and some ideas around cryptocurrency, around Bitcoin, and ultimately around central bank digital currencies, which I am not a fan of. I am obviously very pro-liberty, very libertarian-minded when it comes to policy, but I think the things that are developing on the ground floor here in Oklahoma is exciting. I know there are other states doing great things, but because I live here in Oklahoma and I am also an advisor for the Oklahoma Bitcoin Association and the Oklahoma Blockchain Council, I thought I would just go ahead and give a update on just some of the things that we've been working on and what's going to be going through this year's session here in the Legislature, House and Senate in Oklahoma. First bill I want to talk about is Representative Hill. This bill, HB 3594, it's the Blockchain Basics Act. That's the one that's coming from Satoshi Action Fund. And it's basically just reiterating that, the state of Oklahoma is going to protect your rights as a citizen of the state to mine and self-custody digital assets, most definitely needed with just how the federal government's been kind of playing their hand. I mean, obviously there's a big divide in the federal government, but also a lot of uncertainty about regulation. So we definitely want to make sure that people have the right or maintain the right. They already have that right, but the state's got to come in and say, hey, you know what? If the federal government does stuff, hey, in Oklahoma, you have the right to own these assets, to mine these assets. The other one, we have Representative Gatter. I don't know if I'm saying that right, so I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your last name, but the bill is HB 4000. And the whole concept behind this one is digital asset mining is basically going to be treated like a type of manufacturing here in the state of Oklahoma. And because of that, there's going to be exemptions from sales tax when it comes to the items, the products that are needed on a large scale, on a business scale, to have a mining operation. So definitely some tax incentives there, some tax breaks for the industry at large. So I'm hoping that'll attract some new jobs, new capital into the great state of Oklahoma. And then the one that Bitcoin miners need to keep an eye on, it's SB 694, the energy companies, the power companies, I should say, the power companies are wanting a performance-based rates application to how, power is utilized here in the state of Oklahoma. But the problem is, in Arkansas, a bill like this was passed, and the cost of electricity has gone up 15%, and a lot of people feel like they've got their hands tied in that regards. We really need to get rid of this amendment. We don't want performance-based rates when it comes to Bitcoin mining because it seems to have had an opposite effect on prices where it has been passed. So we don't know. I mean, there's obviously a narrative going around that it's good and that they're trying to convince, Bitcoin miners to participate in this. But I think it's a no-no. All right. So the other one, Senator Pareto, SB 1288. This is another one from Satoshi Action Fund. It's an orphan well bill. Basically allows these well sites where there's often this flaring activity, whether you're talking oil, natural gas, right? Where electricity can essentially be created. You're capturing that flaring process. You've got a generator set up on site. You got essentially the data center or Bitcoin mining set up on the site, and you're utilizing that electricity. You're helping the environment because you're stopping the flaring, but you're turning that already was going to be wasted energy into electricity to mine Bitcoin. So you're monetizing that lost energy. So we think that's going to be really good for the state of Oklahoma. I know each state will probably be different, but my good friend, Senator Dom, had many conversations with him about some things I would like to see happen. So he has authored some bills that's going to run through this session. One of them is, just a general state task force. I would love to see the conversation, the dialogue started in order to say, hey, as a state government, what do we need to do to attract the industry, the mining industry, the Bitcoin, blockchain, crypto industry? I know I have to be somewhat agnostic on this part, but, what can we do to attract the industry to the state of Oklahoma? How can we be friendly in a business sense? But also, how do we protect the rights of our citizens as we move forward into this new digital age? And so I think a general task force being, summoned by the state government and building an official report to issue to both the House of Representatives, the Senate, the governor. I think those things are going to be a giant win for us. And so I think that'll probably be an easy one to get through because it's, kind of toothless in a sense. It's just saying, hey, we're going to do some research on this. The next one we've got, and I think I said the name of that one. That was SB 1820. The task force is SB 1820, Orphan Well Bill, SB 1288. All right, so the next one we're looking at here is a report looking into buying digital assets for the state retirement fund, essentially putting Bitcoin or digital assets on the balance sheet for the state government. And we know that Satoshi Action Fund is working on some great legislation around this. And I think what we're planning on doing is probably getting that language inserted into this bill. But the general idea behind this bill is for the treasurer to build a report on the pros and cons of what it means to take a percentage of the state funds and invest it into Bitcoin. So I think that's, again, it's just another report. I think, a resolution. I think that'll be a good one for just general history making and getting us going in the right direction as far as dialogue goes. The other one, this one's from also Senator Dom, SB 1838. This one is basically prohibiting the creation of licenses around a cryptocurrency business. So basically, like in New York, they've got this thing called the BIT license. You got to pay a fee, you got to jump through all these hoops, yada, yada, yada. Well, in Oklahoma, that's not going to be a case. We're not going to have a BIT license. We're not going to have these weird fees you got to pay and all these hoops you got to jump through. So obviously, very good for the industry, very friendly. And then I believe, okay, just to clarify, that's SB 1838. And then we've got one. It's another report that's going to be generated by the Department of Commerce and the Banking Department here in Oklahoma. And this is SB 1843, basically a state blockchain asset depository institution. In other words, how is the state going to move forward in possibly creating an institution to help custody these blockchain digital assets for the state? And then also providing financial services to innovators who are in this space, who are looking to do business, considering the gray and often ambiguous regulatory status that much of the banking industry is experiencing when it comes to digital assets, along with things like the SEC, the federal government at large. So I think being able to provide financial services in these uncertain times could be a good option. But the other one that I'm excited about, SB 1865, banning CBDCs in Oklahoma, much like the bill that went through Oklahoma or through Florida and was signed into law. This basically states that any form of central bank digital currency, whether foreign or domestic, will not be recognized by the state of Oklahoma as legal tender. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. But there's another one. This is SB 1826, the Digital Currency of Oklahoma Act. And with this bill, it would establish a gold depository through the state treasurer. And the purpose of that depository is to create a fully gold-backed cryptocurrency that is always redeemable for either cash or gold. Some might argue it might be a constitutional way of using gold as money in a digital age through the means of the state. And that might be a little controversial to some of the people who listen or watch my content, primarily because I am also under the impression and belief that Bitcoin is a superior form of money to gold, despite gold and silver being great hard money, great forms of hard money, limited in supply. But Bitcoin's just better, and especially for a digital age. And because it mimics the mining process, the energy consumption that, you would take to mine something out of the ground, this proof of work concept, do we really need to have a backed cryptocurrency, backed by gold and silver? And so I understand that argument. But the other argument there is my personal belief based off of Article 1, Section 10 of the U.S. Constitution. It states that no state shall coin money, emit bills of credit, which is fiat money, the ones we use now, or make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payments of debt. So essentially, if you ask me, because a state tax is levied on a citizen, that is a debt owed to the state, and that debt, according to the Constitution, must be paid in gold and silver coin. And so I am under the assumption that a Bitcoin or cryptocurrency cannot, based off of the Constitution alone, cannot be used as a form of legal tender. We'd have to possibly rewrite the Constitution. But there was an argument made back in the day before 1971 that, these pieces of paper coming from the Federal Reserve were backed by some form of gold and silver. And so therefore they were constitutional because they were just these receipts, these claims to this gold and silver. And so essentially that bill would probably try to emulate something like that, where this digital token is a representation of some gold that you hold in the depository at the state of Oklahoma. That would be an interesting one to unpack. I think it's worth a conversation starter. But, I would much rather see our country go back to a constitutional form of money like gold and silver over this fiat money that's issued by a cartel of central banks that we are borrowing from. And they're creating this out of thin air. So, the money we use is not constitutional. Bitcoin probably couldn't be constitutional money unless we change the Constitution. But, I don't know. Let's get the conversation started. What do you think? Tell me in the comments below. And then more importantly, I want to go through here. Representative Clay Stairs is also got a bill that he's going to be running through the House of Representatives that is also addressing central bank digital currencies. And essentially, it's an anti-central bank digital currency bill. But the language on the bill is still being worked on, and that is House Bill 3323. So we've got a lot of legislation to keep an eye on when it comes to Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, blockchain technology. It's going to be a wild ride. I think this legislative session, I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm excited to help some of the lawmakers here in the state. But more importantly, this is just getting started. And I'm happy that I was on the tip of the spear in 2019. And my hope is that whether it's one of these bills that I helped generate ideas for through, Senator Nathan Dahm, or whether it's these bills that Satoshi Action Fund is running, my hope is that we can at least get one or a few of them across the finish line. We're definitely doing some education, definitely continue doing the interim studies. But man, we got a lot to look forward to here in the state of Oklahoma. If you want to help lobby, send messages, if you live in the state of Oklahoma, you want to get plugged into either the Oklahoma Bitcoin Association or the Oklahoma Blockchain Council, go to my website, mattjmoore.com, and send me a message and just put in the subject, cryptocurrency bills or Bitcoin bills, however you want to word it. And then we'll get you involved in the process, because we need people to go down to the Capitol. We need people to talk to the representatives and say, hey, this is good for Oklahoma. We want this industry here. We want our freedoms protected when it comes to monetary sovereignty, the right to choose how we want to transact, and hopefully, not only start this dialogue of getting back to sound money, but using a form of sound money. So that's the update when it comes to this legislative session that starts February 5th. Again, this is the second session of the 59th legislature here in Oklahoma. I'll be doing my part. I hope you do your parts. And tune in to our radio show, one of America's only radio shows dedicated to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. You can check it all out at mattjmoore.com. This has been a great conversation. I'll see you guys on the flip side.